Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today for Mama Elephant with some Dear Santa penguin cards. I am such a huge fan of the Favor Bag add-ons from Mama Elephant and using them in ways on cards as opposed to on the Favor Bags, which I absolutely love too, but I always love to find additional ways to utilize those dies in my card making. They make such a big, bold presence on the cards and are really a fantastic focal point. I'm going to use the new Favor Bag Penguin add-ons with some other brand new not Favor Bag, but some brand new dies from Mama Elephant, part of the September 2019 release. We're going to start with this really awesome frame die. Mama Elephant does some of the best frame dies. This is called Snail Mail, which you might notice with the great postage border there. I'm actually masking off from the stitched edge to the edge of the die cut, and it die cuts not only this postage shape but also a frame, and we're going to use both of those. Then I'm going to take a stamp set that has been around for a while. This is not a brand new stamp set, but I love mixing and matching older product with new, and we are going to create our own pattern paper background. This is also something I'm a big fan of. So I die cut my snail mail frame from some Hues cherry cardstock, and then I am taking one of these boutique borders from Mama Elephant, inking it up with some white pigment ink, and I am creating this design kind of at a diagonal on my background. By masking off the edges, it's going to allow that postage edge to remain bright red. So it's only going to be a pattern in this center part of the panel, which is what I love. So instead of an additional piece of cardstock, an additional layer, we are actually creating a pattern and then a solid frame all on one piece. And I really love that technique as far as eliminating so many layers for your cards. Once I have gone all in one direction, and yes, there is that little bit of space in between each stamped image, which I was a little concerned about, but I continued it all the way across because I wanted to give it a chance to see how it was going to work. I'm going to go back the other direction. And the minute I started going back the other direction, I knew that I was so super glad that I went ahead and did that. Now, I do apologize for my head getting in the way. My camera is positioned right above me, and in order to line this up, because I did use an acrylic block, this is much faster than trying to move it constantly in my MISTI. I needed to kind of get right over the top in order to line it up as much as possible because I'm simply eyeballing this. Once I am done stamping this, you are going to see that there is a fantastic plaid pattern all over the background that's red and white and just very perfect for holiday or any time. Now here's the magic. When you remove the masks, look at the great red border all the way around. Isn't that a fun background? I absolutely love this, and it's fantastic with all kinds of different border stamp designs. I went ahead and kept my red frame, and that's just so I can create the outer frame with a little more dimension. I'm not actually going to be using this frame as a decorative element. You won't really see it because we'll be layering a light pink frame on top of this. But it does allow me to have just a tiny bit more dimension on that outer frame, and it provides a great place to tuck my penguin into, which you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to a white top fold card base first. We'll put some nice strong adhesive inside, and then we're going to inlay that piece we just stamped right inside there. And really, you could do it, you could create your card just like that because it's really pretty with those stitching areas and die cut areas and then the stamped middle. I decided to create a contrast frame, and I've also die cut this same snail mail frame from some Hues Peony cardstock, and then I'm going to just peel up my double-sided tape and layer this over the red frame. The pink and red is fantastic. I love pink and red for holiday, And I know I've maybe mentioned this in some other videos, but I can really feel myself gravitating towards pink and red for whatever reason this holiday season. I just really love that. Pink and red also would be fantastic for Valentine's. I think this could really easily be used for a Valentine's or a love-themed card as opposed to holiday, just with a few simple adjustments. Now I have die cut my Penguin Favor Bag add-on from some Hero Hues Pitch Black cardstock, Lawn Fawn Vanilla Malt cardstock, and then also some Lawn Fawn Fake Tan for the penguin beak. And then we'll have a little of the Hero Hues Cherry cardstock for the bow tie. The majority of the dies for the penguin are from the Favor Bag Penguin add-on. That's going to include the top hat, the bow tie, the fish and fishbowl that you'll see, if not on this card, but the next one. This adorable little envelope and letter are actually from the Snail Mail set. So the same set that comes with this fantastic frame we're using also comes with this letter, which I think is perfectly sized for any of the Favor Bag add-on critters. So you could really go through any of the critters that you might have and use this awesome set. I opted to use the envelope, the letter, and then I've also die cut a contrasting heart there. And we're going to tuck this into the penguin's little arms, almost like his letter to Santa is how I am figuring it for my card here today. Let's go ahead and build the rest of the penguin's face, and then we can position that letter where we want it to go. He's going to have a cute little red bow tie. That light gray top hat is Lawn Fawn Narwhal cardstock. Any of these little small pieces, I am using a crystal katana to pick up and pop in place. And then we'll just kind of work to position that letter exactly where we want it to go. And I like it kind of tipped at a little bit of an angle. Up above the penguin is going to be the perfect place for a thought bubble. And we're going to fill it with a fun little sentiment and then some fish die cuts from this Favor Bag Penguin set. Because of course the penguin is wanting fish from Santa for Christmas. I am going to go ahead and put a layer of crystal lacquer on the beak, the eyes, and the heart on the envelope. I want that to start drying while I work on the rest of the card. And that's going to include stamping and embossing the thought bubble. And our thought bubble is going to be from the Delancey die collection, which is another new die collection from the September 2019 release. And we're going to stamp a sentiment in that thought bubble from the brand new Mini Merry Messages. So we'll see that here in just a little bit. And I'm going to stamp and emboss that Dear Santa sentiment on that with clear embossing ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder on this really pretty aqua colored cardstock piece. So the aqua is going to tie back in to the aqua envelope that the penguin is holding. And you can see this is the perfect little area for a thought bubble. And because of how these sentiments are positioned, because they're just kind of little mini messages stacked one on top of another, I'm going to shift it to the left of the thought bubble and then fill the right area with some cute little die cut fish. I'm adding some white pin detail to the top hat to give it a little more character. And then we've got some cute little fish die cuts that we'll add to the thought bubble after we've stamped and embossed it. So we'll put the thought bubble in our Misty. You can see I'm going to shift that over to the left. And we're going to stamp Dear Santa with the clear embossing ink. We're going to grab our white embossing powder, we're going to sprinkle that on, and then heat set that. Now because the sentiment from the front of the card is pretty small, and we're going to finish the inside of the card with another one of the mini Merry Messages, I want to do a little dot 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 after the word Santa, so that the recipient kind of gets the idea that there's probably something on the inside as well. And I thought the naughty and naughty or nice sentiment worked really well with Dear Santa. So I'm going to add some little white dots with my pen, and here in a minute we will add that naughty or nice inside both of the cards that I'm creating today. I wanted to share another version where you can take some dies from other favorite bag add-on die collections and use those with the new ones. So I'm a big fan of mixing and matching, and I've done this other times with some of the other favor bag add-ons. But you can take embellishments, hair bows or glasses, different hats, things like that, and mix and match them amongst all of the favor bag critter add-ons. In this case, we'll be doing a Santa hat on the second one. Now I put 3 fish in that thought bubble, and I want to add detail to the eyes with a black glaze pen just to make that pop a little bit more. How cute is that? Now we're going to set that aside and let the crystal lacquer completely dry. And then I did take these little mini ink blending tools, and this already had some pink ink on it left over from another project. And I'm just going to add a little bit of pink ink to the cheeks on the penguin for a little extra character. For our second card design, same thing. We're just going to mix it up by switching the colors we're using. And by that I mean that we are going to be creating a pink background instead of red with a red frame. I'm going to mask off the edges just like I did before. And this time we're going to use a little bit wider stripe, and I'm going to create a straight across and up and down plaid. So nothing really different here other than I did start at the bottom because I did find it a little easier to start right next to the Post-it tape. And I'm going to work my way all the way up, and we're using red ink instead of a white pigment ink this time because I think this shows up a lot better on the pink cardstock than a white pigment ink will. But just like before, by masking off that edge, we're going to give the illusion of 3 layers as opposed to the 2 that it actually is. So there'll be a frame and then the centerpiece. Once I have the horizontal lines stamped, I'm going to just switch that around, and again I'm using an acrylic block. I am not using the Misty. It's much quicker, I feel like, to do it this way. And then we're going to stamp the other direction. And the magic is always when you get to pull off that Post-it tape and see the perfect masking. I think we have just a couple more impressions to make, and our background will be finished. So I'll peel off my Post-it tape and look at that great light pink border with the red and pink plaid in the center. Just a fun option for creating your own custom backgrounds that really set off the penguin die cuts. What I was looking for was something a little more interesting than just a plain cardstock background. The penguins are the star of the show, but the background choices help make them really shine. I also forgot to mention earlier, but I love tipping the critters kind of at an angle for a little more character. So you might notice that they are tipped kind of towards the left. We're going to position the penguin body and arms, add the face details, and just build all of the things before adding all of the finishing details like we did before. So everything about this card is the same, with the exception that instead of a top hat, we're going to have a Santa hat. And we are going to implement the fishbowl and a letter down below instead of just a letter. It's just another option for that. We will pinken the cheeks with our little mini ink blending tool again. And these Santa hat dies are from the Favor Bag Santa Elf add-on. So it's the set that makes Santa or elves, and you can very easily use it to make Santa hats for all your favorite critters. On the insides of my card, I am now going to stamp that naughty or nice sentiment that I was talking about before. This is also from the Mini Merry Messages. We're going to stamp this with a red ink on both of the cards. Gives it a great finished look. So while the stamp is in my MISTI, I can easily stamp the inside of both. I'm going to clean this off, and then we're going to stamp the Dear Santa on the speech bubble, just like we did for the first card. If you want to, you could always, instead of a Santa hat or a top hat, you could take what I'm using for the bow tie on both of my cards, and you could put that on top of the penguin's head, draw in some eyelashes, and give it a little bit more of a feminine look. I think that would be super cute. Be a nice, fun little option there. We'll heat set the Dear Santa, add our little white dot, 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 and then we want to add this to our card up at the top. And add our Santa hat. So I'll take a little glue. We're going to glue the thought bubble in place, or use the tape runner. If the images are big enough, I usually will use a tape runner. If they're smaller, it's a little bit easier to use some liquid adhesive. Then we're going to take our Santa hat, which has been die cut from Hero Hues Cherry Cardstock, and some Nina Smooth White cardstock. We'll add the little pom-pom ball at the top. We'll add the white brim. The curved edge actually goes against the bottom of the red piece. I had it upside down, so I'm just flipping that around. It naturally will just kind of fit together just like that. I've added some crystal lacquer to the eyes, beak, and heart on this card. We're going to add a little white pin detail. And once the crystal lacquer has dried, you can take white pen and add it right on top of anything with the crystal lacquer or glossy accents if that's what you used. And it works perfectly to add a highlight. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these two Dear Santa penguin cards featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification button so that you never miss a new card making video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.